In this video, we're going to be doing a basic guitar setup procedure, and by the end of the video, I think you're going to have a good idea of what that involves, what tools you might want to have on hand, and I think you're even going to be able to set up your own guitars at home. So if that sounds interesting to you, be sure you stick around and watch this video. I'm Jason from the pedal company Fuzzlord Effects, and I really appreciate you taking the time to check out the Fuzzlord Effects YouTube channel, where we release a weekly video doing gear demos, tech talks, and other music-related videos for folks interested in doom metal, stoner rock, and all kinds of other heavy music. So if that's your kind of thing, be sure you subscribe to the channel, check out some other videos. You can keep up with me on daily on the Instagram page at Fuzzlord Effects. Check out fuzzlordeffects.com, or you can check out the Fuzz Live podcast on iTunes and Spotify. Before we get started, just want to do a quick thank you to all of our Patreon supporters, flashing their names on the screen. If you're interested in helping support this channel, there's a link in the description. Let's get started on the setup. So let's go over the 5 steps that we're going to cover in this video. Step 1 is we're going to install new strings on our guitar. So we're going to pick what strings we want. In this video, I'm using a set of 13 to 56 strings, and we're going to tune this guitar to C standard. So step 1, you kind of need to know what tuning you want to use and what strings you like. Step 2 is going to be checking out our neck relief and adjusting our truss rod. Truss rods in a guitar neck help to adjust the amount of curvature in the neck. It's called the neck relief. So sometimes guitar necks can get a back bow on them or too much of a forward bow, and adjusting the truss rod and taking a couple measurements is how we're going to dial that in to an optimal spot. Step 3 is going to be adjusting the action of the guitar. What action is how high the strings sit off the fretboard. A low action means low to the fretboard, a high action means high off the fretboard. We'll get into what people's preferences on that are in a little bit. Step 4 is going to be adjusting the intonation of your guitar, meaning we're going to move the saddles on the bridge back or forth on the guitar to make it so the guitar is perfectly in tune to itself. What I mean by that is that the overall scale length of the guitar, we're tuning the saddles back and forth so that the 12th fret is a perfect octave of the open string. It just means so that as you play up the frets and then up playing solos and stuff, that it is indeed perfectly in tune to like when you're playing open chords. Step 5 is going to be adjusting the heights of the pickups. Because we have changed the geometry of the strings of the guitar and how high they sit off the fretboard, we're going to want to make sure that our pickups are still at an optimal height. We're going to make sure that they're not too low, giving weak output, or too high and causing other problems with tuning, for example. The whole deal with a guitar setup is it's basically a bunch of little fine-tuning adjustments to make our guitars play well, play comfortably, the pickups sound good, they're intonated well, meaning it stays in tune as we play up the neck. But step 1, we have to pick what strings we want and our tuning. I have this set of 13 to 56 Diodario, and this Les Paul is going to get put into C standard. I like using these little string winder tools. It's just one of those nice things to have on the bench. And I also really recommend that people grab these little wooden blocks or something similar, a little sandbag or something to set your neck on. It's just really nice to be able to work on a bench and have everything stay still. If you're curious to know about the tools I'm gonna be using in this video, just hit the link in the bio. I'm gonna leave links to everything I'm using. This is all the stuff that we buy to use here in the Fuzzlord shop when we're changing strings on our guitars. So we're just finishing up step 1, got the strings installed. I think it's really important to cut off the ends of your string so you don't stick your bandmates in the eye with a string. So I'll leave a link to these too. So step 1 is almost done. What we're gonna do is plug the guitar into a tuner and get it tuned up to pitch, so we're gonna get tension on the neck. Step 1 is the string, step 2 is adjusting the truss rod, right? So we wanna make sure that we have the correct amount of tension for the string gauge and the tuning we want to use put on the neck before we start messing with the truss rod. So let me get this tuned up. So we're gonna check the neck relief now. And again, that is the bow in the neck. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a capo on the first fret to hold the strings down. And then with the guitar basically in playing position, we're gonna use our thumb to press down the last fret. And what we're looking for is, then we're gonna go to the 9th fret and then look how much the string sits above the fret. So what we want is just a little bit of height above that fret. That's our neck relief. So if we have too much neck relief, too much of a bow, we're going to tighten our truss rod a little bit to kick the neck back. If we have a back bow in the neck and this string is actually touching the frets, we're going to loosen our truss rod to bring them, give some bow to the neck. Good way to check is you can just take a business card. They're about 10 thousandths of an inch, and you can just check and see if it can slide under the string and without picking it up a little bit. I mean, this is pretty much perfect action for me, but we're gonna go ahead and pull off the truss cover, and we're gonna give, let's just say about 1/8 of a turn and tighten the truss rod a little bit to remove that bow. So now we're on step 3, and we're going to be adjusting the string height. On a Les Paul, we just have these thumb wheel screws to move the whole bridge up and down. But the whole deal is, this is the kind of part of the setup that really has to do with personal preference. Some people like their strings to have a lower action, so you can play like real fast and real easily on solos, and some people like a little higher action to be able to strum the guitar a little harder. What I like to use is the string gauge measurement tools. They have a bunch of different little markings on them, and they even say on the back like what the normal measurements are for an electric guitar, acoustic guitar, or bass. Most people like about 60 thousandths of an inch on the high E string. You can go a little lower. This is kind of like my preference, but somewhere between let's say 40 and 60 thousandths on the high E string. And on the low E string, it's going to be about 60 to 80 thousandths on the low E string. I'm gonna set mine up 60 thousandths over here and 70 thousandths on the low side. So basically when you're using these tools, you just lay the tool over the fret and it has these little numbers that we can read on it. And right now, the strings are sitting on the low side at about 60 thousandths of an inch. So I'm gonna crank up this thumb wheel screw a little bit. Sometimes you're gonna have to loosen the strings just a hair because there's a lot of tension down on there, but quick adjustment. So now we're on to step 4, which is going to be intonating the guitar. I wanted to point out that a lot of people feel the best way to intonate a guitar is with it in playing position, not sitting on a table on a bench rest. For this video, for the ease of doing it, we're going to intonate this guitar on the bench. And a lot of times when I'm intonating guitars that I'm kind of doing a big change to, like changing the tunings a bunch like this, I will do my basic setup and my intonation on the bench with it in a neck rest like this. And then once I get all done, then I'll go over to my amp and I'll sit down and I'll use my tuner to do the very last fine tuning like a day later or something. So let's get started on the intonation process. First of all, what intonation is we have the overall string length of this guitar. The open string of this guitar is a C. And what we're trying to do is make it so that we play the 12th fret. That should be a perfect octave, that it is indeed a perfect octave. So to change this a little bit, we can move the bridge saddles back or forth. A really easy way to do this is to use your tuner, and of course you want to tune your open string. So this is a C note, what we're tuned to. And then we're gently going to fret the 12th fret. Try not to bend the string and pull it back and forth because that will affect the pitch, right? Then we're gonna look at it on tuner. This string is actually intonated very well. All right, so we're moving on to the second string, which in this tuning, C standard tuning, is a G. So we want to get our string nicely in tune, and then we're gonna check it again at the 12th fret. You can see how the 12th fret's a little sharp. Here is how we're going to remedy that so the guitar plays in tune with itself as we move up the neck, and that the 12th fret is indeed a perfect octave. I call it chasing the needle. So if you find that the needle is sharp going this way, we're going to take our saddle and follow it. So again, that is sharp at the 12th fret while it's in tune on the open string. So we're going to chase the needle and then move this saddle back that way to compensate. When we change the location of the saddles or the bridge back and forth, it's going to change the pitch of the string. So you need to go back and retune your open string back to the original note. And then again, then you check again at the 12th fret. We nailed it that time. So basically we're just going to go through each string this way. We're going to tune it up to the pitch the string should be. Play the 12th fret. Analyze it on the tuner. If the 12th fret is sharp, we're going to move the saddles downward towards the bottom of the guitar. If the 12th fret was flat, we would move the saddles upward that way. So now we are on step 5. We are going to adjust the height of the pickups to match the strings well. So the first thing we need to figure out is how to measure the pickup height. So one of the tricky things about this is you have to fret the last fret of the string. And then we're going to take one of our rulers. Again, these little string gauge tools just work so good. Where's it at? And then we're actually going to put our ruler on top of the pole piece of the pickup, if that makes sense. We're actually measuring from the top of the pole piece of the pickup to the bottom of the string. So this pickup is sitting 2 millimeters below the string, and I think I'd like to have that as a starting point at about 3 millimeters on the bass side. The treble side we usually set about 2. So I'm gonna go down just a little lower. Again, after you get everything dialed in, like these are just kind of like good starting numbers that are kind of just like a good general starting point for anyone basically. But if you decide your guitar is a little too dark sounding, then you could raise the treble side a little bit, or if it's or lower the bass side, for example. Same thing with the high side. I'm just gonna move that string out of the way so I can measure a little bit. We're sitting at 2 millimeters. I'm gonna call that good. All right, on the bridge pickup, we're gonna do the same thing. This one is sitting at 3 millimeters. So we're gonna bring this up till it just sits about 2 millimeters underneath the strings. All right, bass sides is about 2 millimeters. I'm gonna do the same thing on the treble side. It's at about 2.5 millimeters. I'm gonna pick this one up to about 1.5. That's kind of a standard measurement for most people on the treble side of the bridge pickup. All right, I think that's good. So about 2 millimeters on this side, 1.5, 2 millimeters over here on the treble side, and about 3 on the bass side. So it's as simple as that. 5 easy steps. Install the new strings, pick your gauges. Step 2, we're going to check out the neck relief. Step 3, adjust the action or the string height. Step 4 is going to be adjusting the intonation to make sure the guitar stays in tune with itself as we play up the neck. Step 5, adjust the pickup height. So the final deal is just grab your guitar, strum it, play it, plug it into an amp, and you might find that after you did that whole setup that, oh, I want the strings just a little lower or just a little higher. The important thing about guitar setups is that you keep the order of those steps. That'll make it so that you're not doing one thing and then adjusting another thing that like ruins what you just did. So if you want to go back and then change the tuning, you have to start from step 1. If you want to go back and change the neck relief, you're going to start from step 2. If you want to start adjusting, you want a little more of a low action, you would start there and from step 3. I hope this was helpful. Again, I'm Jason from Fuzzlord Effects, and I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and I hope it was helpful and you have an idea of what a setup procedure involves. So whether you want to grab some tools and work on your own guitars, or maybe now you just have more of a respect for what luthiers do to our guitars, and you might want to drop it off at your local guitar shop. I want to know, we ask a question every week, what guitar strings are you using on your guitars? And I want to know what guitar that maybe you're going to work on and set up. So let us know what your guitar is, the string gauges, what brand strings you like, and your tuning, because that's really helpful to know. You can keep up with me on a daily on the Instagram page at Fuzzlord Effects. I really have a lot of fun interacting with people on that page. You can check out fuzzlordeffects.com to see what kind of pedals, guitar pickups, and other things that we have in stock. You can check out the Fuzz Life podcast on iTunes and Spotify. Any time of day. You can be working out, driving to work, whatever you're doing, and checking out cool music-related podcasts where I get to interview other people in the music industry. And if you are curious to grab some Fuzzlord gear, t-shirts, those kind of things, they are available below the video now. Again, a big thank you to all of our Patreon supporters whose names were flashing on the screen. Each and everyone's support really means a lot on this channel to cover a lot of the time and the cost that we put into making these videos. So again, thank you everyone. If you're curious and interested in becoming one of our patrons, you can hit the link in the bio. Until next week, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Leave that comment below, and I look forward to talking to you next week.